Okay, so today we're going to be looking at section 3.2, and we'll move on and look at two more of the derivative rules. And how many have we had so far? You just need to look at this number. So we've had a total of 14 derivative rules. So we're going to now add on two more, and these are the log rules. Okay, so the first one is the natural log rule. And this is what the natural log rule states. The derivative of ln of x, is equal to 1 over x. Okay, derivative of the ln of x is equal to 1 over x. All right, so that's the first one. And then the second one is the log rule for any base. Because the one that we just mentioned has what base? E. So this is the base of E. Okay, so that's why we call it the natural log. And then any base, including the base of E, has a little bit more to it, and that is you're going to have the log base B, so any base of x. So that rule is, it's got part of the previous one in it. So it has 1 over x. But then in addition to that, you have to divide it by the natural log of whatever the base is. Okay, so that's the additional part. But if we go back to number 15, this rule here, it actually has this. So let me just rewrite it. It would be 1 over x. And then if I divide it by the base here, it would be ln of E. So how come it doesn't show up?
Because ln of E is 1.
That's right. So this right here is equal to 1. So this will be a 1 over x. So it actually does exist. It's just that ln of E is equal to 1. But it really is the same rule. All right, those are the only two rules, and now we're just going to apply them. Okay, so you're finding the derivative, which is our main theme. Okay, let's settle down, ladies. So for this one here, I'm just going to rewrite it. So this will be the natural log of x, and then you're raising it to the 1/2 power. And then the next part is plus the natural log of the whole thing, so it's parentheses, all raised to the 1/2 power. Okay, so that's the friendly form of writing it. So now I can take the derivative, so that'll be y prime equals, and this is, they're both chain rules, but since the 1/2 is in a different location for each of them, the inner and the outer will be different. All right, so what is the inner on this first one here? X is, no, ln of x is
X to the 1/2.
X to the 1/2. So this right here is the inner. So that derivative will be a 1/2 x to the -1/2. All right, now I'm going to use my covering up method. So if that was my inner, cover this up. And then the derivative of the outer is going to be, or the outer function is natural log of something. So here's our new rule. What's the derivative of the natural log of something? It is equal to 1 over something. So you have to make sure you use the chain rule on that. So it'll be 1 over, and what is my something? It's going to be the square root of x. Okay, so that's the derivative of my first part. Here's the derivative of the inner. Here's the derivative of the outer. And I'll simplify it after I do the next portion. All right, now we're on to the quantity of natural log of x raised to the 1/2 power. So it'll be plus, what is the inner on this one? ln of x. So I'll cover that up. So the derivative of natural log of x is 1 over x. So that'll be 1 over x. And then you have the derivative of the outer. So I'll cover this up. So there's my inner. So then that's going to be 1/2 times something raised to the -1/2. And then I put in the inner into that parentheses. So that'll be the ln of x. Okay, so as I've been saying, if it was a free response and they just said find the derivative, I could just leave it as that messy, expression, and then I'm done with the problem. But most likely they won't. Yes?
Could you explain again where the 1 over square root of x comes from?
Yes. So this right here is the inner. Can someone open the door, please? so this right here is the inner, so that's where this one here comes from. And then I'm going to cover up the inner, which is here, and then I'm looking at the natural log of something. So what's a derivative of natural log of something? It is 1 over that something. What is that something? It's a square root of x.
So why are you looking for the square root of something?
It's because so when I have the derivative of the natural log of x, I'm using a chain rule here. So the natural log of something, derivative is 1 over, and then whatever this thing here is. So this one just happens to be x, but if there's something other than x, you have to put that inner function in there. Okay, so the inner function is that. Okay, so now I'm going to simplify it. So this here becomes y prime. This will be a 1 over the square root of x. So I have 1 over the square root of x and another 1 over the square root of x and then a 2 in the denominator. So all that will simplify to 1 over 2x. Okay, so that's the first part. And then for this one, I'll drop the negative exponent down to the denominator, so then it looks like there's only 1 up in the numerator, and then you're left with a 2x times the natural log of x to the 1/2, which I'll write it as the square root of ln of x. Okay, so that would be your derivative. All right, I'm going to skip down to C here, and I'm going to have you guys try these two. So let's look at this one. So for this one, the base is a 2, so then I'll be using this rule right here. So what is the inner on this one?
X squared plus 5x.
So then this will be y prime is equal to that derivative will come out to be a 2x plus 5. All right, so that would be my inner, so if I cover that up with my thumb. And now you need to do the derivative of the log base 2 of something. So let's go back up here. What is a derivative of log base b of x? It's 1 over that something times in the denominator the natural log of whatever that base is. All right, so then it's going to be times 1 over that something, which is this. So that'll be x squared plus 5x. And then you're going to have a base of 2, so then I would be multiplying in the denominator by the natural log of 2. Right? So it's similar to the ln, except you have to divide it by the ln of whatever that base is, right? Which is going to be a 2 there. Okay, so now putting all of that together, it'll be y prime, and that is equal to, I'll just bring this 2x plus 5 up to the numerator. So that gives me 2x plus 5. And then in the denominator, just rewrite it. Oh, I suppose I could factor out an x, so I'll take out an x. So take out an x, and then I have an x plus 5, and then times the natural log of 2. That would be my answer. All right, any questions on that one? Okay, you guys try B and D. And
So, does the log or ln count?
all right, so for this one, you should first of all rewrite it like this. So it'll be a sine of the natural log of x, all raised to the second power. So then this is a triple chain. So my innermost is going to be the natural log of x. So that derivative is 1 over x. And then my middle is going to be sine of something. So that will be cosine of something, which is the natural log of x. And then my final one is something raised to the second power, so that'll be 2 times something, so that's sine of the natural log of x raised to the first power. So this would be an acceptable answer, but I want to just continue to do other answers to show you what they could do, like in a multiple choice. All right, so right above here, I'd like you to do a recall. Recall, not a recall, but recall. Recall this, that there was a nice sine double angle formula, which was sine of 2x is equal to, does anyone remember?
2 sine x cosine x.
Thank you, Jake. 2 sine x times cosine of x. So they could put this x as any x that they want. So I'm going to just leave it as a blank. So I'm going to write it as sine and then 2 and then put a parentheses equals 2 sine and then put a parentheses times the cosine and then put parentheses. So it's kind of a variation of our double angle. All right, now if you look at this part here very closely, you can kind of see that in this part right here if I rewrote it. So I can rewrite it as y prime is equal to 1 over x will just stay. I'm just going to rearrange this. All right, so this will be 2 sine of the natural log of x times cosine of the natural log of x. And you can see here that this is pretty much this, which will eventually equal this. What do I need to fill in? I just need to fill in an ln of x here, put an ln of x here, and so that would make this as an ln of x right there. So another variation of this answer is y prime is equal to, instead of all of this, I'm going to write it as sine 2 of ln of x. So this would be sine 2 of ln of x, and then all of that is going to be, I still need this part here, divided by x. Now, when would they do something like this? Probably in a multiple choice. They could continue on and say, keep going, keep going, keep going. And this could be a multiple choice answer. So I want you to see that. They could keep doing other things. And same thing with this one. You could get a very obvious answer, and then you can continue to use some trig identity and make it look like something different. But it's in the end, it'll be the same answer. Okay, so then for the next one, I'm going to rewrite it as y equals log, and then this right here will be written as the cosine of x and then quantity squared. All right, so here, what do we have? Another triple chain. So this will be y prime equals, my innermost is cosine of x. So that gives me a negative sine of x. And then my next layer is what?
Yeah, 2, the square.
Yeah, something squared. So then that'll be 2 times something, so that's the cosine of x, and then squared will just become a 1. And now my outer is going to be log. Now, what is the base on this? 10. Understood, right? It's an understood base of 10. So now I'm doing the latter part, which is this. So we're using this rule right here. So what is the derivative of the log base 10 of something? It is 1 over that something, which is cosine of x squared. And then I need one more thing. What is it? ln of 10. ln of 10 in the denominator. Okay, so this is a acceptable answer. However, they'll probably do something more with it. What will they do? Let's see. Well, see this cosine of x? They'll probably cancel it out with this. And so then you end up with a y prime that's going to be negative what? Wait, what is this 2? 2 is just 2, right? So it'll just be a negative 2 sine of x, and then divided by cosine of x times the natural log of 10. So that's an acceptable answer. But they may also say something about another identity. What's sine over cosine? Tangent. They may also say this. That's also the same thing as negative 2 times the tangent of x, all divided by the natural log of 10. So they may say that also. They being the multiple choice producers.
College board.
College board, that's right. Yep. Okay. I think the video is getting too long, so I'm going to stop it.